Well, hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm so glad you stopped by. Well, it's time for another Around the World collaboration put on by Sylvia over at What's Cooking at Mom's Kitchen and Sandy over at my Audrey's Kitchen. And this month we're doing Greece. I love Greek food. I've always wanted to go to Greece. It's such an amazing looking country. And for my recipe, I chose Pastitsio. Now that is their version of a Greek lasagna. It has three main layers to it: the noodles, the meat sauce, and then a bechamel cheese sauce on top. And let me tell you guys, it is amazing. Now, I first had this dish when I was in high school. We had a Greek foreign exchange student and he made it and it was so good, but I have not had it since, and I've always wanted to tackle this recipe. Now, I'm going to tell you, it is a little involved. It has three main steps and it's going to take a little while to put together, but believe me, it's worth it. It makes a huge amount. You could actually divide it in half and put it in two separate dishes. You could have one now and then freeze one, but it is well worth making. And now when I'm done with mine, I want you to go check out everybody else that will be in my description box. There are some talented chefs out there who are making some great stuff. So stay tuned and let's get started. In a large pan, add 2 tablespoons of olive oil, a half a teaspoon of crushed red pepper flakes, and 1 large purple diced onion, along with 1 teaspoon of oregano, 4 cloves of chopped garlic, and we're just gonna sweat the onions until they become soft. And now we're gonna need 2 pounds of ground beef. And once your onions have turned translucent, we're gonna go ahead and add in our hamburger and just keep cooking it until it turns brown. Now, I did have a little grease in mine, so I drained that off. And now I'm going to use some Cabernet Sauvignon. Now, I'm lucky. I work at a winery, so I get a lot of good wine. And it's 3/4 of a cup, but any kind of dry red wine will work. Now we want to let that simmer for 3 minutes or until most all of the wine has evaporated from the pan. Okay, once that's done, you're going to add a 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. Now guys, I will have everything listed in the description box. A 1/4 cup of tomato paste, a half a teaspoon of cinnamon, and this is what gives it that interesting taste, some salt and pepper. Now, if you didn't have the cinnamon in it, I don't think it would be Pastitsio. And now we're gonna let that simmer for 30 to 40 minutes. And after about 20 minutes, I forgot to say 2 teaspoons of sugar. And just stir that up. I put my lid back on and then add 2 bouillon cubes. And then you're just gonna keep simmering it with the cover off for another 20 minutes or so until it gets very thick like this. You don't want it soupy. Now in the meantime, I have a big pot of water on to boil. Now they use these specific noodles for this dish, but I can't find them here, so the closest thing is this ziti. And we're gonna cook 14 ounces until it's al dente. Now, as you can see, our meat sauce got really nice and thick. Now let's move on to our bechamel sauce. This is 7 tablespoons of melted butter and 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour. This is gonna make our cheesy white sauce for the top layer. And we are making a roux. So just stir it until you don't see any of the white flour anymore and cook it for about a minute. Now here I am dumping in my 14 ounces of ziti. Now this is a 16 ounce, so I had a little left over. Now you're gonna add 2 cups of whole milk to your pot and you're going to vigorously stir it so all the lumps break up and it's nice and smooth. And you're going to keep stirring, and you'll see it'll start to get really thick. Then we're going to add another 2 cups of whole milk to that, and just keep giving it a stir. And it'll take about 3 minutes to thicken up. Now you want to put a sprinkle of nutmeg, maybe like 1/8 of a teaspoon. Now our meat sauce is all done. And once this coats the back of a spoon, it's ready. And it'll be nice and smooth. Now I have this grated Greek Mizithra cheese. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's kind of like Parmesan, but it's a Greek version. But if you can't find that, just use grated or shredded Parmesan. And then just stir that into your white sauce mix until it's all incorporated. And now I drained my pasta and I let it cool for 5 minutes. Now you're going to take 2 egg whites, I know, egg whites, and put them in there. This is going to help bind the pasta together when it's baking and keep it its shape. And just give that a stir until it's all nicely mixed in there. And then what we're going to do is add a 1/2 cup of crumbled feta cheese. I love feta. It's got that nice salty taste to it. So just mix that on in there. And that's all we do for that part. So we have our cheese sauce ready. And once that cools for 5 minutes, you're going to add in 2 egg yolks. Now that was from the 2 egg whites, so you're not going to waste any. So it was 2 eggs. And just put that in there, and that's going to make it sort of like a custard when it bakes. Now I have a not a large, 9 by 13 deep pan, and you're going to lay the pasta in there in an even layer, and then you're going to put the meat sauce on top. Also try to make sure it's even, and then pour your delicious cheesy bechamel sauce on the top. Oh my gosh, I had a spoonful of this. It was so yummy. And just try to make sure you fill in all the areas so that there's no meat sauce peeking out. And then I just topped it with that tiny bit of leftover cheese I had, because I used 3 ounces and this was a 4-ounce container, so I had about 1 ounce left over. But you don't have to put cheese on the top. Actually, I wish I wouldn't, because it got a little too crunchy, so don't put cheese on the top. And see how deep the pan is? So it makes a lot, but you can divide it into 2 pans. And here it is. You bake for 40 minutes at 350. Doesn't it look delicious? Now I'm going to attempt to get a slice here to show you what the inside looks like. It smelled amazing. And see, it's got the layers in there. It was still pretty hot. I probably should have waited a few minutes, but I couldn't wait. So it's so cool looking with the different layers. Now I'm taking a bite. Oh my gosh, you guys, look at that. Now stay tuned, because I'm going to give you my final thoughts on this recipe. So I just wanted to give my final thoughts on this dish, and I'm going to show you another close-up of a piece I cut out. See the 3 distinct layers, and this really was good. And I was gonna say, you do not have to make all the steps in one day. If you want to just make the meat sauce one day, put it in the fridge. If you want to make the pasta, you can do all 3 steps ahead of time. You can do 1 ahead of time, or you can be like me and make all 3 at the same time. I literally had everything going at the same time. You should have seen my kitchen. It was a disaster. But I just decided I wanted to tackle it all at once. And honestly, from start to finish, I would say it probably took 1 hour and 40 minutes. That's including the baking time. So it's not too bad to make, and the results are so worth it, you guys. So I hope you're gonna give this a try. It's perfect with a salad and some garlic bread. So don't forget to check out everybody else in the collaboration, and please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, I sure would appreciate it. And we'll see you on the next video. Bye, everybody.